This film called Here brings back a lot of the stars that brought you Forrest Gump, including the director, but also, of course, including Forrest, that's Forrest, and Jenny. It's a film with a gimmick. It kind of takes a fixed camera perspective and then goes through time periods. It kind of flickers back and forth. It's not linear. But it's overall, it's a film about poignance, and it's a film about regrets and highlights of life and looking back and fleeting moments and moments that aren't so fleeting because we're seeing them all packed together. But anyway, so because of the start of this film, and I think we all know that this is going to appeal to the older generation, I was sat in a silver screening, which means I was amongst a lot of elderly people. And I think maybe that brought out a bit of empathy in me because you hear them chuckling and I don't know, I became an old person for 2 hours watching this film. And therefore, I think I ended up liking this despite all the critics. Every critic is ripping this film apart. I ended up sitting there, imagining I was a 90-year-old man watching something like this, relating to certain moments and actually rather enjoying it. Next thing I'll explain is the gimmick. The gimmick is the fact that while they go through the time periods and they kind of go back and forth, the way they do it is they open up these little windows that overlap the central frame, and it kind of takes over. It envelops it eventually, but it kind of lets a bit of the sound through first. It is like little windows every time. A lot of people criticise the technology and just the overutilization of CGI. And I mean, look at Tom Hanks here. He's about 35 probably in the narrative, in the story, and he's probably in his 70s or 80s in real life. Actually, I haven't got a clue. But I mean, I don't really know if I care. I think the story wins out in the end. I don't really care if his upper lip is quivering through all the technology moving through his CGI body. I do sometimes get a bit irritated with reviewers where they insist on drawing this really thick line between experimental and gimmicky, and of course this one falls into gimmicky, and insist that the twain shall never meet. And I think often they do, and they overlap more often than people would like to admit. And just because some of the writing was a bit more simplistic in something like this doesn't mean you can't hit home and you can't draw emotion from people, and it did with me. So I'm sticking to my guns and saying I like the film.